Hello, everyone, and thank you for joining us for the College Planning Checklist session at Big Future Days. We are really excited to have you join us for today's event, and specifically for this College Planning Checklist session, where we're really hoping to help give you some tips and guidance to really understand what you can be doing now to help plan and prepare for college. Before we get started, I just wanted to take a minute to introduce myself and our esteemed guest on our next slide, please. My name is Andrew Elwell, and I am a Senior Director of Communications and Marketing at the College Board, where I work on our free college planning tools and resources, including Big Future and our College Board Opportunity Scholarships program. Joining me today is Dr. Lanika Pruitt. Dr. Pruitt is a professional school counselor from Dutchtown High School in Georgia. And for the last several years, Dr. Pruitt has guided hundreds of students, just like you, through this college planning process. And so I'm really excited to have her here with us today to share her expertise and guidance with all of you as well. Dr. Pruitt, welcome, and thank you for joining us.
Thank you for having me, Mr. Elwell. I'm very excited to be a part of this presentation and to assist students in any way possible in navigating this college planning process. So thank you again.
Awesome. So let's go to our next slide, and let's actually take a moment to outline what we're going to cover today as we're trying to give students that guidance and helping them through this process. So as I mentioned, this session is called Your College Planning Checklist. And our goal today is to really give you some tangible advice of things that you can do now to start thinking about and planning for college. So most of you are probably juniors and sophomores. So the session is going to be really focused on things that you can be doing in 10th and 11th grade to really set yourself up for success when it comes to planning for college. We're going to kick things off with a discussion of some things that you can be doing sort of no matter where you are in high school as you're planning for college. Then we're going to talk about sophomore year, including some tips and recommendations of things that sophomores can be doing now and later this year to plan for college before turning and doing the same thing for juniors. So outlining tips and things that you can be doing now and this year as you gear up for senior year. We'll wrap up our conversation by highlighting some resources that we have at the College Board to help you pull out some key takeaways from the great guidance that Dr. Pruitt's going to be sharing with you all. And then we're going to have a little bit of time for questions from those of you who are listening in. So please feel free to ask questions via the Q&A feature or the chat function as you're listening along. We have some volunteers who are with us tonight who are going to try and answer your questions as best they can throughout the session. And then again, at the end of the session, we'll have some time to pose some of these to Dr. Pruitt as well. We're also going to push out a poll to all of you sort of at the end of this session. So please take the time to fill out that poll. It's going to be really helpful in making sure that our Big Future Days and future programming is really valuable to all of you. So with all that out of the way, let's dive right in and head to our next slide and pull up the first question for Dr. Pruitt. So Dr. Pruitt, we've got juniors, we've got sophomores, we've got probably some parents listening in, maybe some other grade levels. And we know how important it is for students to build a great relationship with their counselor, especially sort of in this world that we're living in now where school might be virtual or hybrid for a lot of students. Can you give some tips and guidance for students and parents who are listening in on how they can build that strong relationship with their counselor?
Absolutely. The relationship with the high school counselor is probably one of the most important relationships throughout your high school matriculation. So definitely starting with communication early as soon as you can. Being honest and transparent with your counselor about what your strengths and weaknesses are, what your needs are, what your plans are after graduation. And if you don't know those plans, to let them know that. But definitely to start early. You want to get in a habit of touching base with your high school counselor at a minimum at least once a week, whether that's phone call, email, virtual conference. Take take advantage of any workshops or lessons that your counselor provides. The more that your counselor gets to know you, the more that they're able to help you and provide resources to help you on your journey. So definitely communication and transparency and honesty in building the rapport with your counselor, again, especially in this virtual realm, whether that's phone, email, or virtual conference, making a schedule to touch bases with your counselor on a regular.
That's really helpful. I think, I feel like a lot of students are always wondering how much they should be reaching out to their counselor. So it's great to sort of hear that advice on how often, and having that regular touch base with them, I think is really important, as you mentioned.
Absolutely.
So let's talk about extracurricular activities. Our next question up on the screen here. How important are extracurricular activities, and especially in light of COVID-19, what guidance would you give to students as they're thinking about extracurricular activities that they want to be involved with?
Extracurricular activities are very important. Most college applications and or scholarship applications are looking for not only high academic achieving students, but very well-rounded students. We live in a world now that is very diverse, and they want to ensure that students are coming into an environment who can balance the workload as well as the activities. So extracurricular activities are very important. And then most of the time, they are the determining factor when students have similar academic grades or test scores. It's the extracurricular activities that are determining factors for scholarships and acceptance into colleges. Currently, being in the virtual realm, many of the clubs, organizations, or sports are altering the way that they do things. But whatever participation they are providing, even if that is virtual, you still want to participate. If the meetings are virtual, if the activities are virtual, you still want your sponsors and your coaches to see your faces on the camera. You still want active dialogue, again, if it's virtual. You want your sponsors, club sponsors, or coaches to be able to speak as well on your behalf virtually as they can in person. But again, extracurricular activities can be the one thing that make you stand out as a student when you're in competition with scholarships and college acceptance.
That's really great advice. So this next question is going to be very appropriate for everyone who's joining us because it's about virtual college fairs. What advice do you have for students, for parents, to really make sure that they are making the most of virtual college fairs like this one that they've joined tonight?
Take advantage. We want to look at the positive in this virtual realm. Take advantage of every opportunity. When you go on college tours in person, sometimes you're limited either by fees if you're having to travel, or time constraints if you are trying to schedule college tours. But being that college tours are currently virtual, such as this one, you want to take advantage of being able to visit with as many colleges as you can, speak with as many college representatives as you can, take notes, ask questions, utilize the chat box, the Q&A information that they have. In many cases, virtual college fairs are recorded. And if they post that information on their website or on the college site, you're able to revisit if you need to hear the information again or reach out to the college advisor. But definitely take advantage because you don't have the financial and time constraints that you may normally would with visiting colleges. Virtual college tours are a great way to be able to cover more ground, visit more colleges, and speak with more college recruiters.
I love that. It's almost like it makes the world a little smaller in a sense. So to your point, you can, connect with colleges that maybe you might not have had an opportunity otherwise. I also feel like there's a lot of great opportunities depending on sort of your communication style. So if maybe you might have been nervous about going up to an admissions officer at a college fair in person, and want to ask your question via the chat feature like you referenced, those are some really great tips, and I think some positive outcomes of things like virtual college fairs. So I think that's awesome advice. Um, So let's turn to thinking about courses. So this spring, I'm sure a lot of the students listening into this session are going to be preparing and thinking about what classes they want to take next year, whether it's their junior year, their senior year, and they might be thinking about taking AP courses. So what guidance do you provide to your students who maybe come to you in your session and are saying, hey, Dr. Pruitt, I'm interested in taking AP courses and don't know what to do next or what I should be thinking about. Tell me what you might say to a student in that situation.
If students are interested in taking AP courses, AP stands for Advanced Placement, I would start to research now those courses, both as students and parents. You want to be honest with yourself about what your strengths and weaknesses are as far as content and core material. Take the opportunity to speak to the teachers that teach those courses to see what the format and the rigor is. Speak with other students who have taken the courses to understand the format. Speak with the counselor about what that looks like as far as your schedule, how it's going to fit in your schedule, how the format may be different from other classes, but definitely getting a feel for the way that the AP courses are set up. The more you're prepared to go into the AP course, the easier the transition is because of the rigor of the course. So definitely reaching out to the teachers that teach that course and students who have taken that course. And you, again, utilizing all resources, your school website, the course syllabi, and as always, that relationship with your school counselor who can help you determine your strengths and weaknesses and what taking those AP courses will look like and how they can benefit you in the future.
That's great. I'm sure that's very useful to some folks that are listening in. So thank you for that. I want to ask you our next two questions together. So we're going to talk about paying for college. Obviously, very important to students and families in a normal year, especially important this year in light of sort of the current global health situation. So talk to me about what advice or tips or guidance you would give to students around when they should start thinking about financial aid and paying for college as part of the college planning process. And then also any tips that you might give around scholarships and when to start searching for them. Should students be looking for them now and applying? What should they be doing? So would love your thoughts there.
It's never too early to start looking at financial aid and scholarships. Scholarships can start as early as the seventh grade. Even with the opportunity scholarships that are offered through College Board, you will see that many of the prerequisites for the scholarship opportunities are things that you can do starting in your sophomore and junior year to work up to that senior year. So starting as soon as you know you are going to attend college, pursuing financial aid information, scholarship information. Most scholarships are very consistent. Usually the applications or the information are just updated yearly. So the earlier you start knowing what the eligibility and the requirements are, that can better help you plan for what you need to do in high school to qualify for that scholarship, whether the scholarship is pertaining to grades, community service, extracurricular activities, academic, athletics, fine arts, or business scholarships, knowing ahead of time what the expectation is to get that scholarship will better help you plan on how your schedule needs to look, what activities you need to involve yourself in. And again, that is the purpose of the school counselor. That is what we do. That is our job. So especially for those parents that may be on the presentation who this is your first child going to college, utilize your school counselor. Websites such as the College Board has a great wealth of information of what the steps are from the beginning. So visiting the websites, doing the research, utilizing your school counselor. But again, it is never too early. You can never have enough money to pay for college.
That's super helpful. And I feel like the theme that I'm taking away from these first few questions is it's really all about, research and preparation, building that strong relationship with your counselor, and doing sort of that exploration process of thinking about like what it is that you're looking for when it comes to college. So I think that's really helpful for everyone who's listening in. So I want to go to our next slide, and I want to turn to sophomores.
Okay.
So sophomores might be just starting this process. This might be their first virtual college fair. It might be their first time thinking about colleges. So what tips do you have for students who are in that place where they're just starting to think about college, especially when it comes to exploring colleges online?
Well, when you're first starting out, you want to have a baseline. There's so much information out there that it can be very overwhelming if you attempt to tackle everything at once. So start with the basic. What things are you interested in? Do you want to go to college in state? Do you want to go to college out of state? Maybe you've never left home and you want to attend a small college. Maybe you want a bigger experience and you want to experience a larger college, but just starting with the basics. What are you interested in? What are you looking for? And if you have no idea how to figure that out, again, utilize your school counselor. We have several resources or inventories where we can assist students in helping them find what their better interests are or things, areas that will fit what they are interested in. So starting with something very basic about what do you want to do if that is college? Do you want to start at a 2-year college or 4-year college? But just starting to think about what college looks like for you.
I love that. I think the question of thinking about what college looks like for you is just a really great way to frame that and think about it as you're starting that search. So thank you for that guidance. So for the sophomores who are listening, we're heading to spring. What are 3 things that you recommend sophomores do this spring to start planning for college?
I would definitely recommend most students, if their schools offer it, most students take the PSAT between the 8th and the 10th grade, 8th, 9th, and 10th grade. So by the spring semester or their sophomore year, they should be reviewing their PSAT scores to see what the scores say about them and what adjustments they need to make before they take the SAT. Most of the time when the PSAT is administered, when those scores return, students usually work with their testing coordinator or their school counselors to understand what is this PSAT score saying about me and where I stand academically and preparing for college. So reviewing those scores, again, you are not in this alone, reviewing those scores with your school counselor to see where you stand would definitely be one thing. I would also strongly suggest working with your counselor to go ahead and plan out your junior and senior year as far as scheduling. Mr. Elwell mentioned earlier about AP, taking AP courses. If you've already started to look at colleges or certain financial aid or scholarships, then you may want to take more rigorous courses. So working with your school counselor to plan what your schedule should look like for your junior year. And then as well as using your spring semester to kind of self-reflect. Again, what am I looking for? I don't know what I'm interested in, so I need to work with my school counselor to determine what that looks like for me. So more of just a self-reflection of what do I want my life to look like after I graduate. Maybe you just see the big picture. Maybe you just know what profession or area you want to go into, but you don't know how to get there. Again, that's the purpose of your school counselor. So definitely one, reviewing any PSAT scores, working with your counselor to understand those scores. 2, planning your schedule for junior year, as your junior year grades are usually what your college will see first when you start applying. And then thirdly, just self-reflection of what you want life to look like after graduation.
Awesome. So once a student has done those 3 things, my next question, what do you recommend that sophomores do over the summer? So they've done those 3 things in the spring. What do you recommend that they do this summer to start planning for college and get ready for junior year?
By the summer of your sophomore year, you have gotten your finalized grades from freshman and sophomore year by the summer. That is a great opportunity to look at and review your GPA, and GPA stands for grade point average. Because by then you have 2 solid high school years of having obtained a GPA based on the courses that you've taken. Reviewing your GPA during the summer of your sophomore year better helps you to plan for junior and senior year. You kind of get comfortable in if you need to take more rigorous courses or if you need to make some adjustment in some courses you didn't do so well with. You may need to recover some grades or get a better cushion as far as your GPA. So definitely review your GPA. And by the summer of your sophomore year, you should already start working on a basic list of the colleges that you are interested in, not so much of narrowing down what your top colleges are, but at least a list of the colleges that you are interested in and start researching those colleges as far as what is needed to be admitted into those colleges, whether it's GPA, certain community service hours, certain involvement, certain test scores, such as SAT test scores. So you want to already have that information during the summer of your sophomore year so that you know what you need to do during your junior year. And again, these are all things that are areas of expertise with your school counselors who can assist you.
That's great. And for the sophomores who are listening here, they've sort of already taken a first step towards building that list, right? Like this is a great opportunity for them to talk to some colleges and maybe start adding some to their list. So that's really helpful advice.
Absolutely.
So let's switch to our next slide and we'll talk about juniors. So we've got juniors listening in. They might be thinking about taking the SAT this spring or this fall. What advice or guidance do you have for students to help them as they're starting to think about taking the SAT and how they can get ready?
As juniors are preparing to take the SAT, I would definitely recommend practicing. There are several practice formats or practice tests, even as you navigate websites such as the College Board, but not only for the content, but to learn the format of the SAT testing, the timing of the testing, but start taking practice tests. Many students have testing anxiety just because they're nervous. So not for any other reason. So the more you practice and the more you become comfortable with being prepared for the test, it becomes a little easier for the actual test itself. So definitely taking advantage of any practice opportunities. Many schools, and again, these are things that you can speak to your school counselor with about. Some high schools provide what are called SAT preparation classes. These are usually classes that sophomores or juniors take advantage of that help them with learning the format of the testing. And again, just taking these practice tests to help them become more comfortable, and they have an opportunity to review the practice test and go back and retake it just so they can familiarize themselves with the way that the SAT is set up itself.
That's great. So for juniors who are looking to spring, thinking about what they can be doing now and over the next few months, same thing we asked about sophomores. What are 3 things that you recommend juniors do this spring to start planning for college?
I would definitely recommend juniors to register for the SAT. By your junior year, you should be taking the SAT if you have not already. You want to allow yourself room that if you do not score as high as you like or what is required for specific college admissions or scholarship, that you have the opportunity to retake the SAT. Usually the College Board will list all of the testing dates on their website. And so that's easy to access to be able to plan out your year and when you plan to take the test. But definitely you want to plan to take the SAT and also review scores. And this is also a great opportunity to get with your counselor to review your high school transcript. Again, when you start applying to college, you won't yet be finished with your senior year. So your junior year grades are the last grades that the college may see before they finalize admissions. So you want to make sure that you're doing your best. That's also the opportunity, whether you're taking any AP courses or trying to improve your GPA. So definitely reviewing your transcript, planning with your school counselor to plan your schedule for senior year to make sure you have all of your graduation requirements or credits that are aligned for graduation, and then researching scholarships. We talked about sophomore year, kind of starting a baseline with the colleges. Well, now that we've started the baseline with the colleges, we need to start researching possible scholarships so that we know what those requirements are as we go into our senior year as well.
That's great. So a junior's done those three things. We know senior years, especially in the fall, is going to be crazy. What do you recommend juniors do over the summer to start planning for college and get ready for senior year?
As a junior over the summer, definitely at this point, we should start refining the college list that we started sophomore year. Now kind of narrowing down our top colleges that we're interested in. You want to have at least a minimum of 3 to 5 colleges that you'd like to apply to, but start to narrow down that list so that we can see what those requirements are. That senior year is going to move very fast. So once senior year starts, you have to remember that not only your class at your high school is graduating, but the seniors around the world are graduating. So everyone is looking at colleges, everyone is looking at scholarships. And if you already have a refined list of what you're interested in, then you're a little bit ahead of the process and being able to see what's required to get into those colleges. I would also strongly recommend for juniors doing that summer semester or during the summer to start working on some form of a resume or what counselors may call a brag sheet. That's simply being able to identify any athletics that you've participated in, any clubs or organizations, extracurricular activities. You can discuss any leadership roles, any community service, your GPA, your test scores, any AP courses that you've taken, anything that you think will be beneficial for your school counselor or your high school teachers to utilize when you are applying to colleges or for scholarships and a recommendation is needed. Again, if your school counselor has a caseload of 300 students or your teacher has 150 students, then you don't want to be rushed when asking for recommendations or assistance with completing college or scholarship applications. I'm doing that senior year because, again, there are millions of students around the world doing the same thing. So using that summer to go ahead and get all of the information and put it in some type of written or virtual format so that it can easily be transferred to your counselor or teacher when you need that information.
That's great. Thank you for giving that advice. I think it feels like this is all really helpful stuff that sophomores and juniors can do now. So I hope that everyone listening in was, taking notes, gonna leave here and sort of start tackling some of these things on their to-do list as they start thinking about what they want to do after high school. Before we take some questions for the audience, I want to go to the next slide and highlight some resources that we mentioned today or that might be helpful as you start and continue your college planning journey. So we have bigfuture.org here and our college search tool. Big Future is a really great resource to help you sort of no matter where you're at in the process. So if you're just starting to explore colleges, maybe adding colleges on your list that you've met today at Big Future Days, all the way up to making a college decision and what you want to do next. So definitely check out bigfuture.org. Dr. Pruitt also talked about scholarships. We have a scholarship search tool at scholarships.collegeboard.org, which is another great tool that can help match you with scholarships as you're starting to do some of that researching, finding scholarships that maybe are open for you to apply to now or that you're going to want to apply to senior year. So I think that's a really great tool to help you as you're checking that box off your list as well. Dr. Pruitt also mentioned our College Board Opportunity Scholarships program. This is a program for currently open to juniors, so the class of 2022, and it lays out 6 steps that students can take on the path to college and offers you a chance to earn scholarships for each step that you take. So juniors right now can actually sign up and earn a chance at a $500 scholarship just by building a college list or practicing for the SAT. And students who complete all 6 steps in the program can earn a chance at a $40,000 scholarship. So like I said, that's open currently to juniors, and it will open for sophomores, so the class of 2023, this next December, so December of their junior year. And then, of course, Dr. Pruitt talked a little bit about practicing for the SAT if you are taking it this spring or in the fall. And so we have our partnership with Khan Academy official SAT practice, where you can get free personalized SAT practice to help you get ready for test day. And then lastly, if you're an AP student, AP Classroom is a really great resource to help you throughout your course as you're preparing for the exam as well. So definitely feel free to take advantage of these resources as you're navigating this journey and checking some of those items off your to-do list that Dr. Pruitt outlined as well. So on our next slide, before we answer some of the questions that you've shared with us, I want to just walk through some of the key takeaways from tonight's conversation that Dr. Pruitt walked us through. So first, let's pull up our sophomore checklist. So these were the things that Dr. Pruitt outlined for you all as sort of what you can do next. So sophomores this spring, review your scores with your counselor if you've taken the PSAT, plan your schedule with your counselor as you're thinking about what classes you're going to take next year and even your senior year. And then do that self-reflection, which I think is a really fun part of the college planning process, and sort of thinking about what it is that you really want in a college and what you're looking for after high school. Then this summer, start to research colleges, review your GPA, sort of take a look at your grades from your first 2 years of high school and think about how you might need to sort of work on your GPA in the next couple years of high school. And then for juniors, we have some of the stuff that Dr. Pruitt walked us through as well. So this spring, again, review your scores and your transcript. Make sure that you're checking off those graduation requirements, especially as you then start to plan your schedule with your counselor for your senior year. Research scholarships. I thought it was great to think about like how as sophomores you're maybe doing that exploratory college list building, and then junior year digging into scholarships a little bit as you're thinking about different opportunities for paying for college. And then in the summer, refining that college list. So maybe taking the colleges that you started researching sophomore year and the summer before junior year, and refining it to the schools that you might ultimately want to apply to, and starting that brag sheet that Dr. Pruitt talked about so that you can give that to your counselor or your teacher or club advisor or whoever might be writing that letter of recommendation, so they have what they need to write a strong letter of recommendation for you. Dr. Pruitt, did I miss anything before we answer some questions from our audience?
No, you recapped everything.
Awesome. So we've seen some questions come in from the audience. So I'm going to ask just a couple here in the last 10 or so minutes that we have. What is the best way for students to try and find scholarships that they might be eligible for? Do you have any tips for students who are just starting to search for them?
Absolutely. There are several scholarships. I would start by, if they're using, for example, if they're just Googling on the internet, start with your interest. There are certain things, there are scholarship databases where students can create profiles and they kind of do an inventory or check off the things that they're interested in or the characteristics that that meet their needs. And the database will send them scholarships. Most high schools, because our job is to prepare students for college, most counseling departments have a scholarship contact or the counselors have contact to that information. So going back to just having that relationship, communicate with your school counselor. There's a myth that that's just for seniors. No, as a sophomore, you can start talking to your counselor now, and that your counselor can help you navigate databases or websites, start searching for scholarships. But just starting with the basics. If I know I want to be a teacher, I may Google scholarships for teachers, for scholarships for the field of education. If I'm left-handed, scholarships for left-handed people. And it sounds minute, but something as simple as that, but definitely utilizing your school counselor.
That's helpful. What about for a student who maybe doesn't feel like they're super involved or doesn't have a ton of awards? Any advice or guidance you might give to them? Because I think some students might think, oh, I don't have a lot of extracurricular activities, and so it's going to be hard for me to find a scholarship. What would you say to a student in that situation?
There are scholarships for many different areas and many different reasons. So I would say whatever your strength is, to zone in on that. So if you know you're kind of shy and you don't participate in a lot, but you are a very high achieving student and you depend on your GPA or your test scores or AP courses, then you can search scholarships that meet that criteria. Some students don't perform the best academically, but they love being involved in their community. They love being involved with their religious organizations or they love playing sports. There are scholarships just for that. All scholarships may not have the same requirements or meet the same criteria. So honing in on what your strengths are and looking for scholarships that meet those strengths.
That's really helpful. I think the other thing that's nice too is our College Board Opportunity Scholarships program, where the scholarships that you can earn are strictly for doing stuff that you sort of already need to do to plan and get ready for college. So that's another great resource I'd highlight for the student who asked that question too, to start thinking about other opportunities as well. Let's see what other questions we have here. We have someone who asked us how they can stand out to colleges. I think especially in today's virtual world, any tips or advice for students who are trying to figure out how to stand out as they're planning to apply to college?
I would say just be yourself. I think many times when students are applying to colleges or applying for scholarships, they are putting information that they think the college wants to hear or that the personnel reading the scholarships want to hear. Be yourself. They love to hear success stories. They love to hear stories of students who may have started out struggling academically, but something changed their lives in that nature. So definitely just be yourself and be honest and transparent. I know now virtually many scholarships are doing virtual interviews. Because we've been doing this so long, we can usually tell if a student is being honest or not. And usually the students that are honest and transparent are the ones that stand out. You want to put something on your application that's going to be memorable or that's going to make that college or that scholarship panel remember you, remember something about you that's different from everybody else that may have submitted an application. So just be yourself, whatever that is for you.
I love that. And I feel like it ties back to what you were saying earlier around doing that self-exploration and asking yourself what it is that you're looking for in a college, what you're looking for after high school. Any tips for students who are starting that self-reflection process? So questions that they might want to ask or how they should even just sit down and start to think about what they're looking for after high school and a college?
Yes, they can definitely, with the self-reflection, just start where you are in life now. Think about the things that make you happy. Think about the things that you get enjoyment out of when you're doing. When you're thinking about where you want to go to college, think about your family dynamics. If you know you love being under your parents and you love spending time with your siblings, then you pretty much may not want to go to a college that's 1,000 miles away where you may not be able to see those people. So just think about your current everyday life. What's something that I enjoy? What things do I know I hate? If I know I hate cold weather and I hate the months of January, December, and January, then I know I don't want to go to colleges up north. So things that are just basic everyday life. And again, these are things that your counselor can help you with, both students and parents. If you're like, I don't know where to start with helping my child determine this, but I know my child enjoys doing this in her spare time. She does this. Those things are very beneficial, and the school counselor can help you kind of determine or narrow down what your child may be interested in. So not only for the students, but for those parents who are trying to assist their kids as well.
I love that. It's almost like there's a opportunity for you to do self-reflection as a student, but then also to talk to your counselor, talk to a parent or loved one about sort of that self-reflection that you've had and get their thoughts too. I think that can be a really valuable resource. So I love that
Absolutely.
advice. You talked about extracurricular activities. We have a question here. A student was curious if you have any suggestions of like extracurricular activity opportunities that students can do virtually now that we are in the midst of COVID-19. Any specific extracurricular activities that come to mind as examples there?
Well, the extracurricular activities that are offered at your school are going to vary because schools offer so many different things. But don't misunderstand, extracurricular activities are just things that you do outside of academics. So, extracurricular activities can also be things in your community, in your religious organization. If you assist a parent in doing volunteer service, if you work or help your grandmother. Extracurricular activities is just anything extra. I know for many students in this generation, they spend a lot of time on the computer or on social media. So looking for things, neighborhood bulletins, things at school or certain groups that may just be offering something for high school students. It doesn't necessarily have to be connected to your school. You just want to show where you've been involved with something else. And I know that right now, because most things are virtual, that there are a lot of outside organizations that offer virtual workshops, or virtual, you think community service, you're thinking, what can I do in person? I know, especially for high school students, there are a lot of elementary or daycares or shelters where you can read to students virtually. So just kind of looking at community bulletins, information that's on social media, or again, things that your school or your religious organizations may offer. Extracurricular activities can be anything and not just tied to school.
That's really helpful because I think a lot of students do think of like an extracurricular activity as just like that club maybe that they've signed up for or that sport. So I think that's really helpful framing to think about extracurricular activities. So we only have 1 or 2 minutes left. So let me see what else we have here. Looks like we have a question around college essays, which we didn't talk about. There is a college application 101 session that is also a really great opportunity for students to learn more about sort of the different elements of the college application process. But just in like 1 minute or so, any tips for ways to get, for ways for students to tackle college essays and get help as they're starting to write their application essays?
Definitely utilize your high school English and literature teachers. Most states, you have to have 3 or 4 credits of language, arts, or literature to graduate, which means you probably have a literature teacher every year. So writing essays early, getting the teachers to review them and give you feedback. And it's okay to tell your counselors what you need. If you feel like you need help with writing college essays, I know particularly at my school, when the students expressed that they needed help with writing college essays, then we held a scholarship workshop and we assisted those students in writing those essays, and we had literature teachers to volunteer to review those. So definitely work in getting the assistance of language arts teachers, and again, your school counselor. That is what we're here for. So please utilize us for that.
Well, we're just about at time. And I know we didn't get a chance to get to every question that was asked in the chat, but I think that's a great note to end on. I feel like one of the biggest themes here, one of the things that I hope students take away from this is to build that strong relationship with your counselor. It's a really great way to sort of stay on track and get the help that you need, and to really know that you're not in this alone. There are people out there like Dr. Pruitt and others who are here to help you through this process. So please be sure to ask for help when you need it. That's all the time that we have. I just want to say a huge thank you to you, Dr. Pruitt, for taking the time out tonight to chat with us, answer these questions, give us your guidance, and wish all of you the best of luck as you continue on your college planning journey and enjoy the rest of Big Future Days.